Hey everyone, Ronald here, and today I want to talk about the top 10 signs that your boss is a jerk. Now, these are in no special order, they're all bad, so I don't want to hear anybody complaining about, why isn't sexual harassment number one? Everything's bad, okay? And you'll see why I have number one. So, number 10. They contribute to a hostile environment, such as what I just mentioned, sexual harassment. They're hitting on you, making you uncomfortable, or it could be something just like they're pitting your colleagues against each other. They set up the environment where people are not really friendly with each other and it's the survival of the fittest or whatever. And if your boss contributes to that, they're a jerk. What you could do about that is just not let that bother you, but work against it to make it a better, more friendlier environment. And that means talking to your colleagues in a more respectable manner, helping them out, and I think that would work best. If you clearly see that your boss is contributing to a crappy environment, I don't know how much helpful it'll be to try to talk to him or her about it. That will be up to you to decide. But there are some other things that you could talk to them about that they might be doing negatively. So now let's move on to another one. Number 9, they don't provide you with resources for you to do your job better. Now, I made this mistake the first job that I had out of college. I remember them telling me that they were gonna train me, they were gonna give me everything that I needed to really kick butt in the job. And they did have some training, but it really wasn't anything like how they described it. And after that, I've always realized, always assume that you are going to be left on your own to figure things out from beginning to end. Even though ideally that's not exactly how it should be. I mean, they should provide some type of transitioning smoothly into your job so that you can be as effective as possible. And in the long run, yes, you gotta figure things out yourself, but in the beginning, to get things going, it should be like a team effort. Okay, and if your boss is not like that and they make things difficult for you, they're a jerk. So what you could do about that is, one, just ask them. As a matter of fact, before you even ask them, you should start from like the bottom, working with your colleagues and try to get information from your colleagues. And some of them will want to help you, some others will feel a little bit insecure and want you to have as difficult time as possible because they want to do their job well and want you to fail, whatever. But try to get information from your colleagues. Then try to get information from your boss. Even though they try to make it difficult, you do your best, okay? But that's a sign, and keep that in mind. If they try to make something like that difficult, then they're a jerk. They're a bozo. Number 8. They don't bat for you for promotions or advancement. Like if you do your work really well, and in the long run you're not getting promoted or acknowledged in any way to get raises, you got to talk to your boss about that. I know it might seem uncomfortable, but the best thing to do is really to have documentation. Always know how to document and keep record of the really good things you do, especially the stuff that keeps you apart from the others. Because if you just show work that you've done that you're supposed to do, that's nothing. You're doing your job. But if you do things that sets you apart from the others, that's really good, that the company benefits from, keep track of that. And then when you bring it up to your boss to show your value, get good at explaining what you did and then what you think you would want to get paid. Okay? And if they have to work with someone else in order for you to get some type of promotion, then that's almost actually a good thing, because then you could try to approach your boss as, hey, why don't we talk to X individual together, and I could really defend the work that I do so that I could try to get what I think would be a fair compensation. So then it's not like you're asking your boss, hey, I want you to do this, otherwise I'm out of here. It really doesn't work like that. Maybe on television. All right, number 7, they don't acknowledge the good work that you do. Now this is kind of close to number 8. Number 8 was more like they don't acknowledge it and they don't go bat for you for promotions, okay? But this one is just simply they don't acknowledge it, and that makes them a jerk. And this is not something that you really need to address, but it's something that you want to keep note of to decide if this is going to be an environment you want to keep spending a lot of effort when your work is overlooked, because that's a clear sign of someone is being ungrateful. Number 6, they hide their ignorance. I can't stand bosses that don't know what they're talking about, but they act like they do. I mean, there's a thing to be said for confidence, but if you're working in an environment and you don't know something, just because you're the boss, it's all right to admit that and then work with the team to figure it out. And I think I'm pretty confident most of the team will respect that. But the problem is when they don't know something and they try to hide that, it's a red flag because it's almost a form of lying. So it's something that you want to keep note of also. Nothing you need to really directly address, like, hey, I know you don't know this. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. That's not going to help. But it's something that you take note of, all right? So not all of these suggestions that I'm making are pure solutions. Some of them, they really don't have a pure solution, but it is something that you want to be paying attention to. And if it happens often, it's a problem and it's not going to be an environment you'd want to stay in forever. Now, this kind of ties in with number 5. I just mentioned number 6, they hide their ignorance. Well, that's kind of a form of dishonesty. But I separated number 5 as them just being dishonest because there are some bosses that just straight up lies to you about a variety of topics. Pay attention to that and you take note of it, because then they're just being a bozo, because there's really no reason to lie. The majority of times in life, there's really no reason to lie. And if you're at work and they're lying and you're catching them, you don't want to just overlook that, okay? Number 4, they give preferential treatment to other colleagues. So this is a tricky one because, once again, this is something that you should not have to tell the boss, hey, you're not treating us equally. But if it's something really blatant, then you might need to call them out on it. But if it's something such as they're just friendlier with another colleague than they are with you, there could be several reasons for that. It could just be that the other colleague, they are more comfortable with them because they've worked there for a long time, and I don't know. Either way, it's not right. But this is something that you should just make note of again. But at the same time, see if there's any obvious reasons why they're more comfortable with the others. Are the others doing their job better than you are? And I think that's a fair thing to take a look at, and then you up your game with the quality of the work that you do. But if there's really no clear reason and it's just like the other colleague is just saying dumb, goofy jokes, don't try to be like somebody else. You be yourself. I had a boss that it was so ridiculous how this colleague was kissing up to her. And they would say the dumbest jokes. It was so ridiculous. It really felt like a parody. But I just had to look past it. And I just kind of realized, look, this is like a dumb environment that I don't want to be in. Not because she was like so much tight with him, but there was other dumb things that he did that she thought was funny, which I didn't think was funny, like playing pranks on colleagues, including myself. And I hated that because I just got into the workplace and they would play these pranks on me that I felt like I couldn't really retaliate because I just got there. So I didn't know what the repercussion was going to be. You know what I mean? Hey everyone, I am re-recording the last 4 signs that your boss is a bozo because my audio cut off, so got to redo this. But the last thing I was talking about was preferential treatment. And I was mentioning how I had a position where some colleagues were playing pranks on each other, and including me. And it was weird because I couldn't feel comfortable playing pranks back. I wasn't sure about the repercussions, but at the same time, I didn't want to make it look like I didn't know how to take a joke. You know what I mean? So anyway, I just knew it was an environment that I was not going to want to stay in for a while. So I just made moves and then got out. And I gotta say, I have to thank my idiot boss that I had, because that inspired me to make that change. Sometimes there's a danger in being a little too comfortable. So having a bad experience can be good. Now, let's move on to number 3. They don't check in with you before reviews. So reviews are like report cards, right? Adult report cards. And it's awful when you're getting a review and it's for the first time that you're hearing all these negative things that your boss might have to say, if it happens to be a negative session. And the way to avoid that, if they were a really good boss, is that when they had an issue with you for something, they would bring it up so that you could correct it. Now, that doesn't always happen. And that makes them a jerk, okay, even though they should. But most bosses don't do that. So it's really up to you. You need to be able to say, well, I know my review is going to be in 6 months. 3 months down the line, take your boss aside and get some feedback. So if they at that point have the time to complain or to let you know so that you could improve, okay? You could even do it twice before the review. I think more than twice would be a little bit much. But if it's 6 months, 2 months down the line, ask for some feedback. 4 months down the line, ask for some feedback. And by the time the 6 months come and you are now doing your review, things should be good. And now, number 2, another sign that your boss is a jerk is that they're not kind to you. Now, there are some environments where bosses will like curse at their employees. That might sound weird to you, but out here like in Hollywood, if you're working at an agency, that's the norm. People like cursing at each other. It's like not a big deal, all right? But if you're like in an accounting environment at some corporation in Tennessee or whatever, that might not be normal, all right? So whatever environment that you're in, if you feel that you're being disrespected, you need to like pull your boss aside and just call them out on that. And if it's a boss that you think is gonna like retaliate and there's like really no way to rationalize with them, then you gotta set your moves. It's just like me and my friend, an old colleague of mine, Rommel, used to say, we got to go out on the streets, make our moves, find better opportunities and get out. Don't wait 4 years or 5 years of abuse in a crappy environment where they're not acknowledging you and they're talking down to you, or waiting to get fired before you try to get a new job. Never waste time. Always be at a job where you know you're being valued. And the last thing, the number 1 item that makes your boss a jerk, that tops everything else, is they don't listen to you. And that's right, that would even top like number 10, where it's sexual harassment, because if that's happening, some hostile environment, you need to bring it up. And if they're ignoring you, well then that's the issue. That's the number 1 problem. They don't listen to you and they're not addressing your concern. You don't ever want to be in an environment where you're not being heard. I mean, there might be a reason. If you're in a meeting and you're giving some advice and they don't take it, I'm not talking about not being heard like that. I'm talking about when there's a serious problem and it needs to get fixed, and it looks like that they don't even care to acknowledge it. Or worse, they say that they will acknowledge it and their actions aren't consistent with it. Go out in the street, find a better job, make your moves, and be out. Anyway, that's it for this video, folks. So leave in the comment section, what were some situations that you noticed that made your boss a jerk, and how did you address it? Don't make it just a venting situation where you just curse out your boss. I'm not looking for that. I want to find out what are some bad situations that you might have run into and how you made it better, so that we could all kind of, learn from each other. And it does feel good to hear that other people are going through crap, because sometimes it does feel like it just might be happening to you and you really don't have anyone to relate with. So definitely share that in the comment, and I will see you guys in the next video, okay?